guys!
Welcome back to the SAT test analysis for the attempt November 2025. Let's start with English. So beginning with Module 1, we did not see much discrepancies from what we have been seeing throughout the year. The level of questions or the distribution of questions was much similar to what we have seen. Now, coming to Module 2, however, there were certain differences. Example, we saw that the vocabulary questions were much harder, option-wise and contextual clue-wise. Going on to the reading section, we did see some harder questions from particularly logical completion and claims questions. Overall, we also see that the answer traps were much more confusing. Moving on to the grammar, which stayed mostly same, I would say. Subject-verb agreement and punctuations were again the surfacing up categories in this test as well. Transitions and student notes. Transitions, I would like to say that there were more complicated option choices, but in student notes, I have seen the level being escalated gradually from approximately, I would say, August till now. They have leveled up those questions. So that was majorly all about it.
I had something to ask. So the way every student after doing the test asked or tells us whether there were some repeated questions or not. What was that situation in English this time?
Great point. So when it comes to repeated questions, I would say they were lesser compared to what we saw in October.
Oh.
We did see some 2-3 questions, but they were not exactly same. They were similar. So we saw some passages which had the same context, but the question type was different. So I would say from that point of view, not many questions repeated.
So that means November test brought to us a lot of new things. Generally what happens is in every attempt we see some sort of repetition of questions, but it was quite rare. Yes. However, if I can move on to math now, right?
Yes.
Okay. So when it comes to math, I'd say that it's not exactly the same situation. We did see some repeated questions. However, there are some noteworthy things here. Module 1 was no surprises. It only had the easier questions or easier to moderate questions. The kind of questions asked were in sync with what has been asked for the last several attempts. However, there were new things coming in Module 2. So I'll just list them down for you so that you have a better idea of it. We are seeing an increasing amount of questions on polynomial factorizations. So very happy will be all the CBSE students because they do a lot of learning of identities. However, for all the other boards, can't say the same. So now I think we have to become very good at identifying the usage of factorization and its identities. There were other things as well. We are seeing more and more conditional probability questions, and there were also new things related to questions of mean, median and range. Now I'm not saying that these three things are tested in 3 different questions. I saw a question in which they combined all these 3 things. They gave a data list and gave 3 unknowns and gave idea about the median, mean and range, and the job was to identify all the unknowns here. So I haven't seen that a lot, in fact not in the last whole year, so that was also a new thing here. There is another very infrequent kind of question. It used to be asked last year but not anymore. It is about triangle side inequality, the identity according to which any side only lies between the difference and the sum of the other two. So November overall, I'd say, unlike the previous attempts so far, has brought to us several new things. Now I also have to identify the fact that having new things does not make the test difficult. The test overall, at least all the versions that I have, gave me the idea that the test was not very hard, but definitely it can make any student fret when they see too many new things coming in the same attempt.
Agreed. One question from you, Sumendra. Desmos is something that's been constantly hammered on as a very important factor to save time and build in accuracy. What do you think? What was the use of regression and overall Desmos this time?
I'd say, yeah, I mean, Desmos as ever will stay very relevant. We still saw the usage of Desmos. In fact, I've stopped saying that it only gets used in algebra or advanced math. You can almost always resort to Desmos even when it comes to solving basic identities or equations, even if it's related to geometry and trigonometry or problem solving and data analysis. So Desmos overall, to answer your question, still is relevant. I think it's going to stay relevant. That's everything about the November 2025 test analysis. If you have any questions, don't forget to click on the link in the description and we'll connect with you and try to answer all your questions. Thank you so much.